Hello beautiful people, welcome to the channel. The Witchy Goth here, hope you're doing well. The Week in Brief, 20th to the 26th of January 2025, and it's been another one of those weeks. So I'm just going to run through the headlines and then I'm going to get into the stories in depth afterwards. So the main headline of the week, of course, is Donald Trump's inauguration, and where he refused to put his hand on the Bible as he was being sworn in. He's retracted the Bill of Equality for workers. He's declared that there are only two genders, basically not acknowledging trans people. And in the latest news, he has kicked Elon Musk out of the White House. Elon Musk himself pulled a fascist Nazi salute at the inauguration celebrations, as well as vocally and visually backing the AfD party in Germany. Bishop Bede, or Bede, I'm not sure how you pronounce her name, I've heard it pronounced different ways, told Trump off for reminding him what the Bible is all about. Axel Radicabana, the teenager who unalived the three girls in Southport, Alice, Bibi and Ellie, has been found guilty and sentenced. This has led to Keir Starmer discussing in a speech that perhaps terrorism laws need to be revised, and it may well be that extreme misogyny be added into and be called a terrorist crime. Nigel Farage is upset because he didn't get to be in the rotunda when Trump was sworn in. Storm Eowyn pummeled parts of the United Kingdom. Tristan Tate's appeal against the judiciary to keep him within Romania has been rejected, and the 4-year investigation against Marilyn Manson has been dropped. So I'm going to go into the details. The main headline, of course, is all about Trump and his inauguration. So he refused to put his hand on the Bible when he was being sworn in, and I'm going to link all of the footage, all of the information, the news articles and so on into the description box below. So if you want to go ahead and investigate that yourself and check all the news out, you can do so. This is a man who was selling his own Bible. And I think that we can clearly see that he's not really a man of God. During the church service, Bishop Bede, a woman, she implored Trump to think of the poor, the trans and immigrants, whether they are illegal or not, as these people are rightly so afraid. And I'll talk about this story in a little while. But in his first week of office, he has changed the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Of course, there's a big hoo-ha about this worldwide, as rightly so. And Google have said they're not changing it. England has said, no way, we're not doing that. He's revoked the Equal Rights Bill for workers, meaning that there's no statute on whom a company can employ and what they can pay them. So this will directly affect women and people of colour. He's declared that there are only two genders, basically eroding the rights of trans people and putting them in a very precarious position. And obviously a lot of my trans friends are very worried about this. In the latest news that I saw today, he has kicked Elon Musk out of the White House. When I say today, I'm talking about 1 a.m. this morning. I don't sleep very much. I'm going to get into that in a little while. He has taken America out of COP. That is the climate change, UN climate change group that meets every year to discuss climate change and to set goals in place. He's also discussing dismantling FEMA, which is the organisation that helps America when there are disasters. So apparently people were referring to Musk as the co-president, and he has been moved to a nearby building. Trump's chief of staff does not like Musk at all. Susan Wiles decided that Musk needed to go, as Musk wanted to be in an office next to the Oval Office so he could have really close access to Donald Trump. And this may well become the battle of the egos. And I said this a while ago, that two narcissists together don't normally work. Musk himself has been widely covered this week, obviously, for the Nat C salute he pulled at the celebration that was held for Trump's inauguration. The press, the mainstream media, have been downplaying this and saying, well, it looked like, or it seemed as if. No, it was. It was what it was. You know, we need to remember that what we see and what we hear are the truth, not the way that the media spins the story. If you have a look at the vast majority of the media here on YouTube and other similar channels and outlets, you will see that the majority of people are saying it was a Nat C salute. I've had some comments this week that fascism doesn't exist in America. Well, clearly it does. And whether you want to believe it or not, it's coming. And it's coming with Donald Trump. He has said so many things in the past that should make us all afraid that there may not be another election. Musk has given his backing to the AfD in Germany. That is the far-right party Alternative for Germany, or Deutschland, as the D stands for. At a conference, he was speaking a bit of word salad, to be honest. He sounded a bit like he was maybe infused by ketamine again, saying that Germany needs to have its own cultural identity. Well, I've been to Germany, and it does. Again, it's stirring up far-right racism and fascism. I mean, anybody who's been to Germany and been to Munich and seen the beer festival, that is part of Germany's culture and happens every year. So then at the church service held for Trump's inauguration, Bishop Bede implored and reminded Trump that he should have mercy over people who are afraid of what could happen to them. She said, and I'm only giving a brief summarization here, I will put the video of the whole sermon that she gave into the description box below. But she said, let me make one final plea, Mr. President. Millions have put their trust in you, as you told the nation yesterday. You have felt the providential hand of God. In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. Now, I've seen many comments online that the church should not discuss gay or trans issues, but I've never seen anything in the Bible that says that these issues should not be spoken about in church. There have been calls for her to be fired or removed as a bishop, and she has bitten back at them because she is a person who has to represent all the people. She is a voice of God. Now, you know that I'm not Christian, I'm pagan, but I do believe myself that all people should be inclusive, all people of all races, all genders, and all faiths and beliefs, and everybody should be included under those faiths and beliefs. I know that Jesus wanted us to love our neighbours. So all of these disgusting people who are saying that this shouldn't be discussed in church services and sermons perhaps need to revisit their Bible and their scripture and try and find a place that says that we should not look after the weak, the poor, and so on. Trump looked very bored at one point and in fact went sort of, I thought he was going to get up and walk out, to be honest. Then we come to the Southport unalivings of Alice, Bibi and Elsie that happened last year, teenager Axel Rudder-Cabana has been found guilty of unaliving those 3 girls. And it was a Taylor Swift dance event that happened. And he's been sentenced to 52 years in prison. To be fair, I think it should be life. This has actually led Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, to give a speech saying that terrorism has changed, which it has. In my opinion, we now have terrorism against women and girls. And this needs to be looked at and needs to be investigated. He has said that a review will take place into the entire counter-terrorism and counter-extremist system. Now, Yvette Cooper has previously spoken about misogyny being made a hate crime or a terrorist crime. And she said this week that the wider challenge of rising youth violence and extremism needs to be considered. And I agree. My own opinion is that misogyny needs to be made a hate crime, needs to be made a terrorist crime. And those people who commit acts of misogyny need to be sentenced a little bit more harshly than they are. I've actually got a video coming up later on this week, probably release it tomorrow, about the SV pyramid and how things escalate from the little tiny things such as grape jokes up to genocide of women. So that's going to be coming up this week, so keep an eye out for that. Also, this has led to many in the media wondering if misogyny should be made a terrorist crime. And I actually agreed with Boris Johnson's sister yesterday that she was saying, should it be made a hate crime, a terrorist crime? And it's the first time in my life I have ever agreed with her. Nigel Farage was interviewed this week and seemed a little bit mardy that he wasn't in the rotunda when Trump was being sworn in, and that Boris Johnson was. Now, what Farage needs to remember is that Boris Johnson was the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, but Farage has always claimed that he's had a very close relationship with Donald Trump. However, when Trump was the attempted assassination on Trump, he didn't get to see him then. So I wonder how close that relationship really is. However, Musk has spoken about Farage, saying that they should release Tommy Robinson, from prison, and he would make a better leader of the Reform Party than Farage. So clearly there's a little bit of disagreement there on the right-wing faction, but there normally is, isn't there? Storm Éowyn pummeled parts of the United Kingdom with thousands left without power. This was both in Northern Ireland and in Scotland. I want to remind everybody that these storms are becoming more and more frequent. I mean, my dustbin had a dance and then fell over drunk. I watched it happen. Many people have lost their bins. They went skating off down the street. But the frequency of these storms is highlighting the ever-growing emergency we have with climate change. And it needs to be tackled. And it's something that everybody seems to be ignoring. I make a point of trying not to drive my car as much as possible. I make a point of trying not to use my heating, trying not to use my electronics in the house. And I recycle as much as I possibly can. All of my old clothing goes to charity. And, you know, we should all be taking stock of these things that we are doing in our lives. And I know many of you will already be doing that. Then we come to the Tates, another one of my favourite topics. Tristan Tate's appeal to remove his judiciary control, in other words, him remaining in Romania and not being allowed over the border, has been extended for another 60 days. Now, the Tates have been trying to sue their American victim in Florida for defamation, and they are now threatening to sue the BBC for $1 billion because they say that the Beeb have misrepresented them in some of their coverage of them. I don't think so, because all of the stuff that has been covered in the media is from the Tate's own mouths and videos. If you want more information on the Tates, I really recommend you go to Gadget's channel and have a look there. He is doing an amazing job on covering the Tates and all the misinformation that is out there. So please, 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 if you can, go and support his channel. No, I don't know him personally. We're not friends. We're not in collaboration. But he is so thorough with his investigations into the Tates. So, as I said, the Bieb or supposedly he's claiming the Bieb misrepresented him. But even if the defamation case does go ahead, he is still going to be extradited to the UK after the Romanians have finished with him, because there are 4 charges of rape against him here. And finally, the 4-year investigation case into Marilyn Manson's alleged rape, SVSA, has been dropped, with Los Angeles officials declining to press charges against Manson, as they have determined that the allegations fall outside of the statute of limitations and they cannot prove the charges against him beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, I want to remind everybody that this doesn't mean he's not guilty. What it does mean is that there is not enough evidence against him, and that the statute of limitations in the state, I think it was 3 years, it's now been extended to 5 years, I'm not 100% sure. I will pop something into the description box below that you can go and have a look at. But when it comes to SVSA and rape, it is up to the victim to provide the evidence. It is the only crime in the world where the victim has to provide the evidence. That burden of proof on the victim, and specifically on women, needs to change. Something needs to change. I know from my own experience that the evidence that I actually had, the witnesses that I had, the sergeant didn't even hand it over to the CPS here in the UK, that's the Crime Prosecution Services, because he said there was insufficient evidence. And so we sit with the vast majority of rape cases not even going to court. And this is the same all over the world, because women are never believed. And we are then told that, oh, we need to be punished because we've made false allegations. And that is not the case. We live in a very patriarchal, misogynistic world where men rule and women very rarely are believed. So this week I've got a load of videos coming up. As I say, I've got the Pyramid of SVSA and rape coming up, which is a very in-depth look at the different levels of how that is ingrained into our society and how it escalates from little tiny things to genocide. I've also got quite a few of my Women Be Very Afraid videos, as well as some Am I the Asshole? And I'm going to be doing a new series soon on transgender women. I've found some wonderful people that are willing to do some interviews with me. And so we're going to be looking at that intersectionality, because I was also told this week that I'm not a feminist because I believe that trans rights are women's rights. Well, that's what I believe. I'm not a misogynist. So there's a load of new stuff that I'm bringing into the channel. Watch out for that. It's going to be a very busy week for me. It's going to be a very busy month for me. I've got my next essay due on the 18th of February. And got a load of stuff to do as well, because of course next Saturday is Imbolc, which is the first spring celebration within the pagan calendar. And I'm hoping it's a bit spring-like rather than the awful weather that we've been experiencing over the past week. Anyway, if you've got any comments, pop them down below. Please try and be a bit polite. And I hope to see you next time. Blessed be.